Hey trappers, Dale Billingsley here, Billingsley Brand Lures. So guys, what I want to talk to you about today is we're putting up a little fur out here. Got some custom work to do for some tanning from Mike Halk of Last Step Trap Supply and Hide Tanning. He's a custom tannery, and he needs a little help here this afternoon getting some fat knocked off of some critters. So thought we'd make a good video today. So stay with me, and we'll get things set up here and we'll get started. All right, guys, I apologize about the lighting, but there isn't a whole lot I can do about it at this point. So we were going to start on this big otter we got here, and first thing you want to do is kind of run your hand through it and make sure that there's absolutely no blood, no dried blood or mud balls or little burrs, stick tights, anything like that in it, because anything that's in there with that fur and you hit it with that scraping knife, it's going to knock a hole. So you got to be really careful and make sure that that fur is good and clean. And it seems to be. It seems like we don't have anything in there. So next thing we're going to do is turn this otter. You can turn the flesh side out here. Then we're going to hang him back up once we do. We'll hang back up here again. Make sure that everything's where it should be.
I don't know.
So when you're skinning this stuff, guys, make sure you're doing a good job. This thing's opened up about halfway and then case skin the rest of the way, and that's not at all how you skin an otter. So we'll get into that later on when we start catching a few. But yeah, just make sure you know what you're doing. And if you don't know what you're doing, find somebody that does that can help you. That's going to be a big key for you right there.
We got videos.
And we've got videos out on it. If you check out Mike's channel, Last Step Trap Supply and Hide Tanning on YouTube, he's got all kinds of videos about skinning and fleshing and some tanning videos too. Check his out, his channel, and I think it'll do you a world of good if you don't know what you're doing.
And if you don't, I'll make a video.
Yeah. If you don't, just request something, and we'll try to get it up. I mean, it's not that big of a deal, guys. We can get to this. So anyway, now this otter's been skinned out with the front feet still on it, still attached, the toes and the claws. So we got to turn that right or wrong side out too, to make sure we can get salt down in there. We're not going to stretch and dry these today. We're just salting them as we go. That way they can go right straight into Mike's pickle to be tanned. But this is basically, if you were doing this for the fur market, you would just, cut those feet off. But if you're doing it for a novelty specialty market, you need to try to skin them with the feet on. They will bring a little more money for you that way. And there are videos up of that, of skinning feet as well. So it's, the information's out there, guys. You just got to find it. Okay, so we've got our otter turned now, all except, well, we got to turn the back feet too. You can skin with his back feet on too, so we'll get those turned.
Yeah, I don't understand the concept of that.
Yeah, I don't understand why he's skinned the way he's skinned. I don't get all that, but whatever,
Yeah.
we'll make it work.
In my line of work, I've seen it all.
Oh yeah. All right, so we've got him turned now. Now we're going to flip over here and we'll slide him on the scraping beam. Stay with me here, guys. All right, guys, so we've got our otter on our beam here. And the next thing we need is just a good sharp knife. Now, we like these little Rada paring knives for skinning with. They're just a little 4-inch knife for $7 or $8 a piece. You can't beat these little paring knives for a skinning knife. You can go through about 300 coon before you have to sharpen it. We buy enough of them at the beginning of the season. We just throw it off in a box and grab a new one, and then after the season we'll go back through and touch all these up and sharpen them again. So anyway, back to our otter here. Otters have a big roll of fat on each side of their tail, and if you'll lay that tail out flat like this, get it as flat as you can, take a good sharp knife, and then just slice the middle of that fat. Now you want to be careful. You don't want to go too deep and cut the fur. You just want to cut through the fat. Just slice that open. That's just a little bit dull. There we go. Now we're gaining. All right. Just lay that, just cut through that roll of fat that's there. Do the same thing on the other side. And I'll show you what I mean here in a minute. That tail will lay out flat for you when you go to scrape it. It'll just open right out. Otherwise, if you leave those rolls like, you know, how they are off the animal, that tail wants to roll up on you like this, and you're going to knock fur and you're going to knock holes. So if you just lay that tail out flat, it'll work a whole lot better for you. Okay, so I repositioned the camera for you, and hopefully you'll be able to see a little better what I did. You just lay that fat open. Just run your knife down through there and just open it up. And like I said, just be careful, don't cut too deep. And then that tail will lay out flat for you. Just like that. All right, so the next thing you're going to need is a good knife, and you got to get a knife to fit you, okay? A good scraping knife. You can't just, I mean, if after years and years of experience, like I've got, and like Mike's got, yes, you can pick up about any knife and do it. I could almost do this with a sharpened rock. But when you're starting out, you've got to get a good knife that will fit you, and you're probably going to go through several of them before you find one you like. I mean, we've got, hang on a minute, guys, stay with me. We've got this is just a small sample, okay? We have a plethora of scraping knives here. So, you know, if you know, find one that's going to work for you, find one that's going to fit you, and you'll get along a whole lot better with it. Okay, the next thing you're going to want yourself, guys, is a good apron. Do not skimp on buying aprons. Buy something of quality. You're going to be out here using it. Buy something that's going to work for you. You're going to find out it's just a whole lot nicer to have something on and something that'll work for you that way. It keeps the fat and the grease off of you and on the apron itself, and that's it. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and we're going to scrape this otter. I like to do the tail first and then start at the bottom and work my way up. I do the same thing on coyotes. Do the bottom third first and then work my way up. It just works easier for me. Once you figure out what works for you, then that's what you want to stay with. You take every scraping knife has a sharp side and a dull side. The sharp side is for slicing, the dull side is for pushing. We're going to start with our sharp side of our knife here. Lay it up there on that otter's tail, and you can see that's pretty sharp. And it's taking that fat right off. It doesn't take much pressure with a good sharp knife. And don't worry about trying to hurry. Just scrape the fur. Okay, speed will come. If you've never done this before, don't try to hurry at it. Don't get frustrated. Just stay with it, and you'll figure it out, and it'll come. And so will the speed. All right, always keep your work up close to you if you can. It works a lot better for you, at least it does for me anyway. And we've got a hole here that we've got to get over without making it any bigger. You got to take that fat off. Try to keep the fat pushed away from your fur so you're not working it into the grease. And just because we're tanning these today, the same principles hold true when you are doing it for the fur market. And guys, there ain't a better time right now to learn how to scrape this fur and put it up, because it ain't worth anything anyway. So if you knock a hole in it, who cares? It's not a big deal. You know, you're not out anything. It's not like back, you know, when otters was, you know, 100, 125, 130 bucks a piece. That's a different story. That wasn't the time to be learning. The time to be learning is when they was worth 40, 50 bucks. Okay, so we've got, you can see now, we've got the fat off of that tail. So now we're going to start on the bottom third of our otter here, from here down. And again, you just take sharp side of your knife and just slowly slice that fat gristle membrane away. And you'll figure it out. It's all about angles, okay? when you're slicing, you just want to lay your knife as flat as you can, or as flat as possible. When you're pushing, you kind of stand it up a little more. When you're pushing it with it, it'll come. Like I said, all these things will come to you. The more you do, the better you'll get, and the more you'll figure out as you go along. All I can do on a video is teach you the basics. I can't teach you the finer points of it. All I can do is show you enough to get you started and just enough to make you real dangerous, and that's about it. Push this off with your pushing side of your knife. Okay, so we've got that otter kind of opened up now. Go ahead, take another whack at him here. Sharp side of the knife again. Slice that off. You want to make sure that hide doesn't wrinkle and it doesn't roll. Because if it wrinkles and it rolls, you're going to knock a hole. And don't be scared of it, because I'm telling you guys, you're going to knock holes. Hell, I still knock a hole now and then.
I still do.
And I've done thousands of them, okay? So it's not that big a deal. You're going to knock holes. It's going to happen. Don't fret over it. Don't sweat it. You didn't ruin anything. It can all be taken care of with a little sewing thread or some push pins. It's not a big deal. Trim off any of those big clumps of fat and get them out of your way. Push your hide on down a little more. Biggest thing is making sure it's square on the beam and stay up on top of your beam. Don't get off over here on the sides. If you get on the sides, it's pretty thin and it's rolled, and you will knock a hole over there. That's no man's land. You've got just about, 3 inches down the center of that beam is about all you've got to work with. Up here on top of his head. Now, if we were doing this for the fur market, we would start right behind his ears. But since this is for tanning, we have to scrape a little off that head too, otherwise it'd take a chance of it slipping. But you don't start down here at the shoulders like I see so many guys do, because that's where the easy stuff is down there. You start up here behind the ears. That's where the beginning point is. So many guys think, well, they just start right there where the fat is, right there behind the shoulders, and then we're good. No, that ain't how it works. Because even a fur buyer, eventually all this fur that we sell on the fur market goes to a tannery, or a lot of it does, to be tanned to be made into garments. Well, if it goes through the tanning process and they lose about 30% of them because they slipped, well, that ain't no good. If I was a fur buyer and you brought something in that looked like that to me, I'd be a mad son of a buck. Okay, so we've got the back of that otter done. Clear up to his ear, up here to his eyes and down to his base of his, or clear down the tip of his tail. We've got the back already done. Now we start up here at his head again. And we start working on the ear, around the ears and the ear butts. Just come right over top of the ear butts. You're not going to hurt a thing. If you open that ear up a little bit, give him a big ear, he'll be able to hear better. Okay? You're not going to hurt a thing. Big ears, big eyes, don't hurt a thing. If your buyer is buying and telling you that he's got big ears or big ear holes or big eye holes and he's docking you for it, you need to find yourself another buyer. Plain and simple. They don't buy their ears, they don't buy their eyes. Push that off down to that front leg. Now this one's going to be a little harder to do because he is, like I said, he is skinned wrong and opened up. So he's going to be a little tougher to do, but we'll get by him. You come to that front leg, work your way around it best you can. Now, if we didn't have the feet on there, we would just go straight up. We would cut it short, and then we'd just go straight over top of it. But since we've got the feet on there, we got to be a little more diligent and a little more careful. This is somebody's trophy, and it's been given to us to take care of. We've got to take care of it for them. We got to treat it like it's our own and do the best job we can with what we've been given. Sometimes you got to make a silk purse out of sows here.
Biggest thing is the mud, blood, and wet fur.
That's right. The biggest thing is taking care of it after the catch. Get that mud and that blood off of it, get that fur dry, get it skinned. You can skin it wet, but then it needs to be hung up in front of some fans and dry.
Clothespin the nose shut.
Clothespin the nose shut. If you open that tail up when you're skinning it, clothespin it shut so it doesn't dry out on you. And get some air moving on it. Heat, a little bit of heat, and air circulation are the keys to handling fur. And if you're not going to do this yourself, then yeah, there's a prime example. There's what we're talking about, guys.
If you don't clothespin that nose shut, this is hard as a rock. I can't hardly even bend it.
You're not going to get that turned to get it scraped. So you've got to take care of it. You can't leave them hang around for a week. You can't let them ride around the back of the truck showing your buddies for 4 or 5 days.
Or
all.
even just in the shop with the fan on, you hang it for 3 days.
Right.
You know, it's only meant for overnight.
Yeah, that's right. It's just meant for an overnight deal, and that's it. And we get this question quite often, and I figure I'll just go ahead and answer it right now. We get asked what the optimal temperature is as far as for handling fur. If you're just skinning it and hanging it to dry, somewhere around that 50, 60 degree mark. You know, before you flesh it and stretch it. If you're fleshing it and stretching it, 75 to 90 degrees is fine, as long as you've got air circulation going through there. Get yourself some fans. You hear our fan going in the background right now. Get you some fans going and get some air moving on it. 70, anywhere between 65 to 90 degrees, and you'll dry fur pretty fast. Figured I'd just go ahead and answer that question right off the bat, because like I said, we get asked it quite often. So, okay, so we're 2/3 of the way done with our otter, and we'll do this other third of him, and he'll be done, ready to salt. Again, you just come right over top of that ear butt. I wish I could, I don't know if I can bring you in any closer or not, guys. Let me see what I can do here. You just come right over top of that ear butt. And like I said, if you knock the ear butt off a little bit, it's not going to hurt a thing. It's actually a good thing as long as you don't go crazy with it, because what it does is it opens it up to let air get in there, and it keeps it from spoiling. Keeps it from slipping. Okay, now we've got to get this here off the bottom chin, off the bottom lip, and down the middle of him here. Just go easy and go slow, and it'll come for you. Put that knife over, do a little pushing. Fat off of there. Make sure that hide is laying straight down that beam. Push a little more around that front leg. And you should be able to see where you've left fat and membrane and where there's not. So you know if it's still on the leather, you got to go back over it. The last thing you want to do is scrape this, halfway scrape it and then put it on a stretcher and then try to dry it. Number one, if it's not completely clean, it's going to take forever to dry. Number two, it's going to look like crap. That's the biggest thing. You need to take a little pride in your fur. Alright, we're just about done with this baby. The more you can learn to push with that knife, instead of using the sharp side all the time, the less holes you're going to knock.
Especially with these newer knives.
Yeah, especially with these newer knives, because when they come to you, the pushing side, what's supposed to be the dull side, is just as sharp as the sharp side. So you got to take this thing and run a file across it flat to knock that edge off, run across a cinder block of wood, whatever you got to do to knock that dull edge off, or what's supposed to be dull. Alright guys, we are just about there with this otter. Just a little trimming here around that back leg. That otter's done. I'll show you what we got here. You can see there's no flesh, there's no fat left on it. It's just clean white leather, and it's ready to go into the salt bath or be put on a stretcher, whichever one you're going to do with it. Alright guys, I hope that video was helpful to some of you. I hope you picked up a thing or two from it, and if you did, if you would please just hit that thumbs up for me. That's all I'm asking. I appreciate everything y'all have done for me and done for this channel. Once again, this is Dale Billingsley with another one. Signing out.